Today I am going to share my best tips on how to get out of each rank. So without wasting any more time, let's dive in. Let's start with the lower ranks, Iron and Bronze. If you are stuck in Iron or Bronze, don't worry. It's all about building the basics. You need to make sure your foundations are strong and reliable because that will make it much easier to improve in the long run. The very first thing you need to take a deeper look at is your hardware. I know this doesn't always depend on you, but it's also true that you can't expect to save the world by having 12 FPS. Your performance in game is heavily affected by your hardware. So if you can, make sure your PC can at least run Valorant smoothly, ideally with more than 60 FPS consistently. Once that's sorted, you need to focus on the basic mechanics of the game. One of the most important things to learn early is to stop before shooting. This might sound simple, but it's essential for accuracy. If you are moving even slightly, your bullets will go everywhere except where your crosshair is. So learn to stand still before firing. It's a small habit that will instantly make you a better player. The next thing is your crosshair placement. You want your crosshair at headshot height at all times. To practice this, go into a custom match and just walk around, keeping your crosshair aligned with the top of boxes, walls or signs, anything that aligns with the enemy's head height. Building this habit will massively improve your reaction time and aim. Another key thing to learn is proper movement. Most new players press multiple movement keys at once, which ruins accuracy and makes it harder to aim. Try using only one movement key at a time when clearing angles. This will give you way more control over your aim. You can practice this in custom games or deathmatches. The more natural it feels, the easier it will be to focus on your aim instead of your keyboard. Now comes mouse control. But what is mouse control? In this part of your progress, I just want to make sure you are comfortable with your own mouse. That means finding a sensitivity that feels right and gives you proper control. Yes, this can change over time, but you don't want to learn the game using something completely suboptimal. It will just make it harder later on to rewire your muscle memory. At this point you are starting to have the basics under control, but two more steps are crucial. First, understanding how guns work in Valorant. This isn't CSGO. Guns in Valorant don't have exact spray patterns you can learn. Rifles are built for tap firing or short bursts. Avoid spraying. It's basically RNG unless you are extremely close. Stick to 2-3 bullet bursts in most fights. Second, start aim training. This will give you a massive advantage over others at this level. Use AimLab. It's free and has everything you need. Focus on micro adjustments and trigger discipline. That means lining up your crosshair and waiting for the perfect shot. Use micro adjustment drills for precision and tracking drills to keep your crosshair at head level while moving. Once everything I have talked about so far isn't a challenge anymore, you are very likely to be in silver or gold. Once you hit silver or gold, you are starting to understand the basics. But here is the thing, knowing what to do isn't the same as doing it. This is where most players get stuck. You know that you need to attack, defuse or defend, but it all happens without real decision making. At this rank, focus on understanding core game patterns. One major concept is angle disadvantage. Knowing when and where to take a fight based on positioning is huge. For example, if you are holding an angle where the enemy sees you first, you are at a disadvantage. Understanding when to be closer or further away from an angle will help you win many more duels. Next up is economy management. Valorant has a complex economy that affects every round. If you don't understand it, you are putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. You need to know when to buy, when to save, and how to play around both your economy and the enemies. Predicting the enemy's guns based on their economy gives you the edge over them. Now let's talk about positioning. It overlaps other critical sections of the game. How you push aside or clear an angle can be good or bad depending on your position. If you defend with poor positioning, you are just giving up rounds. But with smart positioning, you can isolate duels, hold key choke points, and make it easy for your team to trade you or be traded by you. At this stage, your communication also needs to level up. The more you talk, the more value your positioning provides. Whether it's a simple callout or a more detailed strat, communication turns good positioning into 1 round. And now, utility. Start tracking your utility. This means thinking about how and when you use each ability. Don't throw flashes or smokes without a reason. Ask yourself, is this the best moment to use it? Could I get more value out of it later? Using utility wisely can be the difference between winning and losing a round. When used right, your flashes, smokes, and traps become game changers. But if you feel like you want a more in-depth guide on every aspect of Valorant, check out the Valorant Master Class. It breaks down every part of the game in detail, even the things we only briefly touch on in this video. It offers insights from Radiant level coaches while still being easy to understand even for beginners. If you want to level up your gameplay fast and efficiently, check out the link in the description. Now we are entering the Platinum and Diamond range. This is where the game starts to separate good players from great ones. At this level, you will meet 3 types of players. Players who rely too much on aim, players who rely too much on utility, and players who are average at everything but don't stand out. If you rely on aim, start working on your utility and positioning. If you rely on utility, work on smarter gunfights. If you are just average, focus on improving one specific area at a time. Here is a personal example. I got out of this elo because I identified my weakness. I was a brimstone one-trick. My utility usage was solid. My game sense was great, but my aim and movement was terrible. I won maybe 20% of my fights. Once I realized that, I focused solely on improving in those areas. That was enough to climb into the next rank. Now we are in Ascendant and Immortal. This is where Valorant becomes a full-on team strategy game. Until now, we have barely talked about tactics and team play, and that's because you can reach Diamond without really relying on them. But now, your opponents are sharper. They recognize patterns and can make smart decisions fast. However, many still struggle with overthinking. This leads to hesitation, and in high elo, hesitation is deadly. Here is the thing. At this level, players have a lot of knowledge, but it's often unorganized in their minds. That means they sometimes overthink and freeze when it matters the most. The only way to overcome this is through repetition. You need to experience the same situation over and over again. Like chess. The first time you have a rook versus rook endgame, you panic, but the 125th time, you are calm and collected. You can't stay in high Immortal unless you play the game often. Playing 4 or 5 matches a week won't cut it. You need to put in time into the game to get comfortable in every single scenario. But the most important lesson in every rank is to stay humble and keep learning. It's easy to feel cocky once you hit Immortal. After all, you are better than 98.5% of the player base. But if you want to hit Radiant, you need to stay open to new ideas, learn from better players, and always analyze your own gameplay. Radiant is where everything you have learned needs to be perfect. You have mastered the game, but now you need to keep pushing. Focus on specific skills and stay consistent. The key is having an open mindset. Always identify your weaknesses and work on them. Review your gameplay consistently. The difference between good and great is in the small details. If you are stuck at a certain rank, it's not your teammates' fault. It's not the game's fault either. The only thing you can control is your own improvement. And before you click off, check out this video where I will show you how to improve your aim instantly with 4 simple steps.